we'll have our speakers tell us about how accurate data informs decisions and delivers e-commerce results. Joining me now are Nathan Rigby, Head of Sales and Marketing for One Click Retail, and Jeff Brown, Director of Client Services, also with One Click Retail. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thanks, John. We're really excited to be participating in this conference. Our hats off to the organizers as well as all of you who are office warriors like we are in conference rooms or cubicles or offices, anywhere. I'm hoping someone figured out how to be smart and tell their boss that this was actually in Hawaii and someone's listening it to on some sandy beach someplace. But for those of you who are like us, thanks for joining us. One Click Retail is the market leader in Amazon and e-commerce data measurement and analytics. And over the course of today's conversation, we want to dive deep into how to get better on Amazon and across the e-commerce marketplace. We're appreciative of the great friends we already have online. We saw a list of those attendees, and it looks like a majority of those who are participating are already clients. But for those of you who are not, we look forward to your friendship and sharing with you some of our unique capabilities. One Click Retail has the ability of providing sales and share information for your catalog or categories and competitors with 98% accuracy per SKU per week. We also do a tremendous amount of other reports, having cracked the code on Amazon's Glance View Index and surfacing actual traffic and conversion information. We do optimization around promotions and sales measurement for third-party sales, as well as being the leading agency for e-commerce search and content optimization in the space. So coverage includes everywhere that Amazon provides data, as well as excitingly in the coming days, we are actually launching our total e-commerce coverage for the U.S. and being able to measure the top 34 e-commerce retailers throughout the USA. But it's not really about one-click retail more, it's about how does data drive Amazon. So in today's conversation, the framing slide that we all already know, but global e-commerce growth is at 16% and growing fast, right? Whereas brick and mortar growth is only at 2.4%. As you look at how Amazon factors into that growth, on the retail space, the broader retail, Amazon represents 23% of the growth. And then in the e-commerce pure sense, it represents 51%. So like our clients are constantly telling us, getting Amazon right is the primary objective of being successful in e-commerce. And so what we'll talk about today is very focused around e-commerce, but the broader implications can clearly be transposed across many great e-commerce players. Over the past several months, we've been trying to get creative and create some insights around what's going on Amazon in terms of the top sales growth areas. And there's been some fun and fascinating things that we've learned over the past 3 months. You can see here in August, the first time we did it, the big insight was that the number 1 and 4 groups, both books and PCs, have long been told to be on their deathbeds. Yet they continue to be some of the fastest growing areas on Amazon. This speaks about having accurate data and detailed insights, because as all of us are well aware, bosses or executive members or board members consistently show up telling us what they heard on the news or what their neighbor told them or what roundtable shared in some type of a seminar, and then becomes, in a lot of ways, the truth. And what we continually push our clients to understand is that the data, not the headlines, needs to be driving your strategies on Amazon. Go into the next month, you look at September, and you see some new entrants into the top growth areas. You see ebooks entering now, a quick follower to the previous month's books. And then you see some really traditional heavyweights in the e-commerce space with pet care and health and personal care really driving some tremendous growth. some of the fun things that we've also captured in that lower right graph is that beverages and coffee represented 41% of all of Amazon grocery sales during the month of September. It begs the question of what are those brands doing? I will say that in the beverage and coffee space, we have some great clients, and they are very smart as it comes to leveraging insights and data to improve their operations and improve their investments in ways that are really driving some substantial and over-indexed opportunities across the Amazon platform. Finally, October, you can see that the holidays pick up with some steam. For those of you that are parents or looking for gifts with kids, Cosmo is by far the #1 hot toy for the year. Toys is up 20% month over month, and you can start to see as well that apparel had a really strong month with costume sales as well as some very basics in the men's categories with jeans and hoodies. So continually focusing around what does growth look like and how are we doing in growth becomes a fundamental insight to how to be successful in the Amazon universe and across the new world order that is e-commerce. This slide represents our primary framing slide for today's conversation. It talks about the major shifts occurring on Amazon, and then you can see in the first column we highlight some categories. In the second column, this is the top 3 players of brick and mortar and those top 3 brands in each of those categories for brick and mortar. The third column represents Amazon in 2014, and the last column represents Amazon in 2016. And so as you look at that top category of pet foods as an example, you start to glean some really important insights. And the big takeaway is that brick and mortar incumbency does not mean online success. So take, for example, Mars. Mars is the #2 player in brick and mortar, and in 2014 it seemed like they were doing the right things in both spaces because they were also top on Amazon. But how 2 years changes that, and quickly Mars falls out of the consideration set, and some very hungry and aggressive brands that have really optimized e-commerce, as Well Pet and Hills have done, really start to figure out how to hone the system in a way that over-indexes and over-performs them to the broader universe. Now, in the same vein, we talk about Nestle. They are the #1 in pet food and are non-existent in 2014, but have figured things out aggressively and reintroduced themselves in a very strong position in 2016. We're very fortunate to be working with these companies and partnering in ways to figure out how to improve their success in the Amazon and e-commerce marketplace. So talking about first mover advantage and what you can do to be successful, there's a big takeaway that this is a tried and true, this is a truism, right? That it's not about the dollars invested, but it's about the smartness of where you invest those dollars. And so as you look at Amazon, it remains the same. There are always initiatives and programs that you're being asked to participate in. But if you have accurate data and detailed insights, you can start to understand what areas move the needle and to do more of what's good and less of what's bad. In terms of those first movers and some of those that we would highlight, diapers, sports nutrition, and specialty drinks have had some very innovative and hungry brands, those that are very, very large, as well as those that are very new to the e-commerce or the retail space. In the diaper space, it's fascinating to see how P&G innovated Subscribe and Save and really drove that initiative. In specialty drinks, it's fascinating to see how Buy is really owning promotions in a way that is over-indexing them in some substantial opportunities. So a quick snapshot of year-to-date grocery, and the next one is personal and health care. But the point of this slide is really emphasizing that brands and really innovative and data-hungry and insight-driven brands are really leading the way in the wild, wild west of Amazon. And those brands are understanding how to fail fast and fail loud, and then optimize their portfolio of products, their pricing, their promotions in ways that really meets the consumer expectations for Amazon and e-commerce in general. Highlighted here, you can see once again other breakfast food, coffee, and beverages continue to outperform on Amazon. And it really goes back to some really dynamic brands that are doing that growth. As we look at health and personal care, the same would be said for diapers and mineral supplements. That supplement business has been very hungry and dynamic as it relates to leveraging insights on the Amazon platform that we'll talk about during the course of today's presentation. So one final kind of note on one-click retail. And it's all about how one-click retail methodology is very different than the competitive methodology, and why it's important to understand which one fits your need set. One-click retail has a proprietary methodology that allows us to calculate category and competitive sales down to the SKU level with 98.5% accuracy, whereas the competitive methodology only gets about 70% accuracy on a brand level per month. So in general terms, competitive methodologies will give you directional insights and trends, whereas one-click retail will fill in all the details of showing you out of stock and what happens during promotional periods. You can see that during this promotional spike of this example that ours and the competitors are 3 times different in terms of what really is happening in this space. And as we have all seen based off of the whirlwind of the last presidential election, and if you are any type of pollster or news agency, having accurate data matters to both a company's success as well as to your career. And so we want to make sure that you are confident in both areas as you make strategic decisions as well as career choices, that you've got the data to really drive decisions and ultimately results in your business. So the key takeaways before I turn it over to Jeff is that better data drives better Amazon decisions. Follow data, not headlines. Brick and mortar incumbency does not mean online success. And the first mover's advantage is real and still very much alive on Amazon.
Thanks, Nathan. So what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about some of the specific metrics that you need to be watching to succeed on Amazon. But before I do, I want to explain the paradigm shift that needs to happen between how you're used to working in the brick and mortar space compared to how you need to work on Amazon. Now, when I worked at Target, I was the guy you called to affect all of your pricing, your product, your promotion, and your placement. If we had a good relationship, you could succeed on brick and mortar. Okay, but now let's think about how that works on Amazon for a minute. If you have a great relationship with your vendor manager, you still can't affect your price, your product, maybe a little bit of promotion, but you can't affect your placement. And so what you have instead is an algorithm. You have a machine, and you need to feed that machine what it needs in order to succeed on Amazon. Okay, so let's look at some of the specific metrics that you need to look at to succeed. The first one I want to talk about is sales and share. So the graph on the left has the sales for these different manufacturers, and all of them are growing. And it's really easy as a manufacturer to go back to your boss and pat yourself on the back for double-digit year-over-year growth on Amazon. Why? Because everybody's growing on Amazon. What you really need to know is how do you compare to your overall category? Because as you can see there, the green line is Kraft. They're growing on the sales chart, but they're completely flat on the share chart. And without that perspective, you cannot make decisions about investment and growth. Go to the next slide. So here's a specific example of one item. Again, we need detail and we need accuracy. You can see here, let me get the cursor here. You can see here this line as it jumps up and then a corresponding increase over time in conversion. Now, what would those two things have in common? Or what would cause that kind of increase? And it helps to have context that this promotion or this traffic, was caused by a promotion, and it was a subscribe and save promotion. That subscribe and save promotion made it so that consumers no longer had to visit the page to create an order and got subsequent increase in conversion. Again, this type of insight helps you now understand what the effect that subscribe and save has on your business. So talking about, since we're on the line of promotions, I want to highlight this graph, which answers the question for us that a lot of our clients get, which is how much do I spend on Amazon? How much do I need to be promoting on Amazon? How loud do I need to be, right? And the answer depends on what are my competitors doing. You can see here, there's Kellogg, on average spending over 40% of their total sales while on promotion. So if you want to scream louder than Kellogg's, you need to spend enough to sell more than that on promotion. Now, anecdotally, I'll mention in the promo types up here on the right, if you want to know where to spend those dollars, Amazon coupons is currently where the majority of the dollars are being made on promotion. Okay? So just a few key takeaways before I hand it back over to Nathan. Use data to inform logic triggers. You need accurate data and you need detailed data. Sales and share measurement help capitalize the business, and traffic conversion measurement for a small Amazon investment.
So we want to keep on that promotion conversation as we kind of move into this next section and really start to understand the different buckets of influence that you have in the Amazon ecosystem. And so in this primary area of owned media, this is the area of your product descriptions and your product videos and your brand stores. This is the great work that your team does to just become active in an e-commerce sense. There's always the sexy sizzle of AMG spending and AMS spending, and it seems to be the rage right now because a lot of agencies get involved, and there's also a lot of push from Amazon for you to participate in these areas. But the real juice where it's worth the squeeze, we have seen, is through this earned media space. The organic search opportunity is outstanding, and it's what Jeff will talk about in the next section. But it also speaks to how to drive traffic through promotions, and what do ratings and reviews really do to improve your conversion and your engagement with consumers online. Now, we all wish that it was, in that classic funnel mentality of if I do this, then this output will eventually come out the bottom. But the reality of this e-commerce world is that direct attribution doesn't necessarily work. You think about how we all shop, and we all shop across varying means of mobile versus desktop versus in-store, as well as across multiple websites and multiple time periods. And so trying to understand direct attribution becomes much more complex, and that complexity requires that accurate data and that detailed insight to be able to flesh through and understand what your competitors are doing right versus what you can do right. Now, here's an insight that we're driving across holiday traffic. We've dived deep and tried to understand what promotion types really move the needle for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And the two that really rose to the top were buy X get Y deals and lightning deals. Now, both of these have incredible impact on the business, and it's really a decision there internally of what is our end goal and what are our budgets, right? So on the buy X get Y deal, you can see that it does have a stronger lift in immediate sales, 9% versus 7%, but the lightning deal has a stronger sustained lift of 28% versus 26%, as well as a much higher traffic impact during that high-frequency promotional period. Another real big insight, and we'll reinforce this later when we talk about Prime Day, is the percentage of discount and the discount levels that really drive impact on the Amazon platform. What we have seen is that a discount less than 25% typically has less impact. It doesn't really gain a lot of visibility. Now, remember, we're speaking in general trends, and so we always want to dive into specific brands and specific categories as it relates to your business. But in general, less than 25% doesn't give a lot of visibility, and more than 50% basically is giving away profitability. So let's continue to talk about, Thanksgiving weekend that's coming up here. What days really matter? What our data shows is that if you have a limited budget and you've got to figure out what days to really have an impact on, Cyber Monday still remains the #1 place to spend your money and your promotions. The #2, and still very impactful, is Black Friday. Now, if you don't have, if you're trying to spread yourself too thin and you're starting to invest in Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday, you're not going to see the same bang for your buck. And so understanding the frequency and the time periods of really having an impact can mean a lot to being successful on the platform. So we dive deeper and we start to understand, okay, but what does that mean for individual categories? And so as you look at, beauty, luxury beauty, and mass beauty, as well as lawn and garden, they'll follow a very similar kind of sales trend as the all-track categories. But when we talk about a lot of consumable brands, pet food, and grocery, it's a different story. And now you start to see the time periods that really matter for impacting change or impacting sales through promotions during those time frames on Amazon. Now, on Prime Day, we always do a deep dive. We are data geeks and we love retail, and so as trying to understand the nuances of how Amazon works and the broader e-commerce industry is driving becomes our passion. And so the key learnings that we learned that are applicable for promotion periods in general is that first-party sales are still the best platform to do promotions. On Prime Day, we saw 122 promotions that achieved $1 million plus that were first-party, and only one that achieved $1 million plus on third-party. The don't over-discount remained the same as it did for holiday as it did for Prime Day. Less than 25%, you're less effective. More than 50%, you're giving away profitability. And 41% was typically the best performing discounts. Now, finding fewer, bigger, and better promotions is always better than spreading yourself thin. Be impactful. Stand for something. Be visible. And then the last point I'll make is that on the international development, you start to see that it is very much in a development stage: Germany, UK, France, and Canada. It looks like we have a question coming in wanting to know, what do we mean by first-party versus third-party? So first-party sales on Amazon represent the traditional retail relationship where manufacturers sell directly to Amazon and then Amazon sells to the consumer. Third-party sales, on the other hand, they mean when third-party merchants or marketplace merchants go out and purchase your products and then resell them on Amazon. Or it can mean third-party merchants, and Jeff will talk about this later, that develop their own brands and they sell via the Amazon marketplace, and is typically fulfilled by Amazon but can be fulfilled directly by a third-party merchant. So they're just different engagement levels that you can have with Amazon. Now, a brand manufacturer can have both a first-party and a third-party relationship with Amazon. It really just comes into where the ownership of the product comes in with Amazon. So, continuing on to the next slide, the takeaways for promotions is earned media is essential. Optimizing your organic and your promotional avenues really becomes foundational. Understand how promotions vary across your categories, your time periods, and geographies. And then as you look at specific promotions, first party if possible, 25 to 40% discount, get the proper price point, do fewer big items rather than many less items, and then finally consider international on a case-by-case basis as it is unique per country, and we'd be happy to talk about that with you if you have questions there.
All right. So let's shift gears for a minute and talk a little bit about search. We've got a couple of metrics here on the left that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Shoppers are turning more to Amazon for their search than they are to Google. 81% of those shoppers are staying on the first page, and 64% are staying on the top 3 results. So clearly, search is key on Amazon. And what we want to talk about is one of the levers that you can pull. There are many levers that you can pull when it comes to search on Amazon, but we're going to just discuss content. Here's an example of a product that one of our clients that we work with, Tetra Cube Aquarium Kit 3 gallon. It's an example that we have here now. They want to optimize their search, and when we look at this, we notice that the #1 search term, you can see over here on the right, is fish tank. Yet it's not located anywhere in their detail page. What I'm trying to emphasize here is the importance of consumer-driven data to inform your decisions, especially with content. Because aquarium is a word that you would intuitively think would be searched, as well as a word that a marketing team might like, but the consumer-driven data is what matters here. The other thing I'll mention is that when you get the consumer-driven data, that you use the right source. For example, a Google keyword is not going to be as relevant for Amazon. In fact, we find that you lose if you use Google terms to influence your Amazon search. People just don't search the same on Amazon that they do on Google. One quick slide here I want to show you the importance of your content. Now, you're not going to get it perfect the first time. In fact, you're going to have to adjust and adjust and adjust to get it right. Here's an example of Amazon's own item, Happy Belly. They don't have it figured out either. So we tracked this as soon as it released, and you can see the title of this item, Happy Belly Breakfast Food Blend. Coffee is located all the way at the end of this title. Okay? By week 6, it jumps to the middle. And by week 7 to 10, they put it right in the front. Oh, and they put it all the way in the back. They've doubled up on this word because they've realized that it's so important to surfacing as #1 for the search term. So test, and continue to work through your content that way. I do want to make one final point about visual content. So we just talked about keywords and making sure that your consumers are driving your decisions for keywords. Visual content is also very important, and it's in a slightly indirect way. So yes, you need all your images, but the quality of your image also matters. When you use these images, you need to use them to educate your consumer on why you are better than your competitor. And you need to focus on features, you need to focus on attributes and benefits in order to do that. And what happens is your consumer is then more likely to purchase your item, which means your conversion goes up, which tells Amazon's algorithm, hey, people like this item and it's relevant to their search. So you then get pushed up, and we talk about the flywheel. You're starting to get that flywheel spinning with search. All right. So key takeaways here. Amazon updates their algorithms frequently, so you need to update your content. We recommend at least quarterly. Use the consumer-driven instead of your marketing or accounting terms. And then make sure your visual content addresses the features, attributes, and benefits.
So when we talk to clients, we talk about the 2 biggest areas to really influence and drive sales are what Jeff just talked about, optimizing your organic and sponsored search. It is a tremendous opportunity of winning. And then the other big thing is getting your inventory and your in-stock and your fulfillment right. So out of stock is the most common issue at Amazon. And as you look at all the different ways that you can influence, in Amazon speak, that flywheel, there's so many dynamic things that really matter. But there's one way to really make sure that you don't have any success, and that is not being in stock, right? The most common ordering issues, or the most common reasons for being out of stock are ordering issues, Amazon auto obsolete, which is the algorithm automatically turning you into obsolete mode because you have fallen below certain profitability metrics. In Amazon speak, this is called crap out. Can't realize any profit. And then the last one is Amazon system glitches, which consistently happen and need to be addressed on an ongoing week-to-week basis. So the opportunity of identifying and addressing these issues fast not only helps you on your bottom line and your sales on a week-to-week basis, but also maintains that flywheel spinning and the organic search progress of moving in the right direction. It's all part of this larger self-fulfilling success story. So how do we talk about Amazon operations? Well, we've talked about on our website, we constantly are releasing really valuable insights for our clients as well as potential clients to understand ways to improve. And so some of the key takeaways that we'll just talk about here is when you're looking at operations, make sure that you're talking to the right Amazonian, right? It doesn't always have to be your vendor manager. It might be the in-stock team that is the right person to reach out to. They're the ones that are measured and that succeed based off of your in-stock operations. And then make life easier from a fulfillment center capacity. Understand the ways and the charges that are going to be applied if you do things wrong and what those can be and how to address those in a proactive style in terms of when you ship and how you ship and what you ship and all of those different terms that will help you be better and avoid costs as well as improve relationships and your in-stock success on the Amazon platform. A couple of more things that are relevant to this conversation, and that is getting your e-commerce organization properly staffed as well as organized. What we see from the best-in-class brands that we are working with is that there is always an e-commerce center of excellence. Leadership has identified e-commerce as an investment strategy, right? That while we only have 2% of our sales coming through this method, we understand that it's not going to be the same in 2, 3, 10 years. And so how do we take advantage of first mover, and how do we understand before our competitors do how to optimize the platform? So as it relates to dedicated resources in an e-commerce space, we see best-in-class having leadership specifically assigned to e-commerce roles, as well as having logistics, content, account management, and insights with specific e-commerce related functions. And then as shared resources, we see customer service and marketing/brand incorporating in at certain times as a resource to the e-commerce success. Now, what type of people should you be looking for those roles? We call it the hacker, hustler, and hipster. We've got a great friend at Mondelez, Oscar, who talks about this kind of this paradigm of hacker, hustler, and hipster. People who get in and figure it out, who know the art of the deal, and who think outside of the box. If your team is not talking about A/B testing, if your team is not talking about failing fast and failing loud, celebrating the failure because you're going to learn how to now take the success, of understanding what competitors did yesterday so that you can get better tomorrow, of understanding what Amazon is changing as it relates to recently adjusting their ratings and reviews for third-party marketplace sellers. If these are not conversations that you are having or that your team is having constantly, then you are losing ground, because dynamic companies are. And they understand that it is accurate data and detailed insights that are going to win the day, because that is the tool that a hacker, hustler, and hipster uses to be successful on Amazon. So in conclusion of this section, we'll talk, the three takeaways are: get your Amazon operations right and you've won half the battle. Some dedicated functions are necessary. And if you only think that you should dedicate 2% of your resources, if you only get 2% of your sales from any channel, then you are going to lose, because others are investing and they're investing heavy. And then finally, the traditional model of people doesn't necessarily work. You need to find people who are the hacker, hustler, and hipster mentality, that will push you in thinking ways different than you are maybe familiar or comfortable.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the competitive threats in the Amazon space. It's no secret that Amazon is murky water. There's a lot of competitors here, and I want to address them specifically so you know how to strategically plan against them. Now, the first one is no surprise. Branded manufacturers, these are the same manufacturers that are competing against you in the brick and mortar space. If you're Pepsi, this is Coke. If you're Pampers, this is Huggies, right? So there's a lot of those on Amazon. Now, the second one, I want to make sure we're clear on this for those that don't know what 3P sales is, but 3P sellers are the people that are selling your items. When you go to an Amazon detail page, you see the More Sellers button, and you can click and see other offers. These guys, most of them are going to your brick and mortar locations. They're picking up things on clearance, and they're reselling them on Amazon. This is the arbitrage opportunity that's going on. The Amazon private brands. Amazon private brands are Amazon Elements, Happy Belly. These are brands that Amazon themselves are creating and selling on their own platform. And then finally, the small no-name brands. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about this, but this is everybody's uncle that wants to quit their job, and so they source some product to China and slap their own brand name on it and start selling it. Okay? So we'll talk about each one of those threats here. Let's talk first about 3P. So 3P sellers, and the question we always get is, how big is 3P and should I even care about it? Let's address that first. The answer is it depends on your category. So if I'm in grocery, and imagine the amount of margin that's available for a 3P seller, someone who's arbitraging, who's going to Walmart at clearance and reselling it. There's just not a lot of opportunity there in grocery, and so you see that the percentage of the total sales is only 11%. Okay? Now take that and contrast it to electronics, where 58% of the total sales in electronics is being driven by third party. So yes, if you're asking me if third party is relevant in electronics, most definitely. And to piggyback on that question, we usually get, so which one should I be? Should I sell first party or third party? And we even get this question from huge manufacturers. And the answer is both. We recommend that manufacturers sell first party and get all the benefits that are there, but that they also have their own 3P account that they're selling the same products, because it happens just like Nathan mentioned, the crap out process. If Amazon stops ordering your item for whatever reason, or there's a system glitch, and you lose that buy box, then you want to be there to pick it up and scrape up any remaining sales that might be lost as a result of you losing that buy box. Okay? So Amazon private brands. The answer is this important. Right now, as a percentage of total, they're just not a big player. Amazon Element Wipes, increasing rapidly. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we need to ignore this, but as of right now, sales are not large but growing rapidly. Same thing with Happy Belly and Mama Bear. Extremely small dollar volume, but not to be ignored in terms of their growth. All right, now these are the no-name brands that I mentioned before. This graph is showing you the top 10 manufacturers in this category. And you can see if we combine everyone else, all the no-namers at the bottom, it accounts for a much larger percent of the total category. Again, these guys are your hustlers, hipsters, and hackers, just like Nathan described. Why? Because they don't have the budget or the brand recognition to compete against the big dogs. So what do? They get really savvy about their content, and they optimize their search, and they pull those levers just right to compete very well with the big brands and manufacturers. So key takeaways. No-name brands are your largest threat, with growing faster than 3P or Amazon private brands. And then make sure that when you sell on Amazon that you're a hybrid seller, that you're selling both first party and third party.
So that's the presentation we presented for today. Are there any questions that we can answer?
I don't see any questions there, and I'm not surprised. It was a tremendous amount of information, well presented, and good job to both of you, Jeff and Nathan. So
thank you very much, John.
You're welcome. For those of you who want more information, you see the contact information on the screen, oneclickretail.com/insights. You can reach out to Nathan and Jeff directly by phone, by email, by LinkedIn. Hey, become a Facebook friend. They want to hear from you. There's the contact information. So thank you very much, guys. Good job.
Thank you.